Hello guys, this is Doronsmovies and you're watching World of Warcraft Lore Lesson number 95. So I thought I'd bring back this series as I haven't done it in a few months and I know it's kinda the main focus of the channel, a lot of people subscribe because of it, so I thought I'd do it again. And today we'll be talking about Zaela, known as the Warlord of the Dragonmaw Clan, and also a Garrosh loyalist if you could say that. So she was introduced in Cataclysm and looking at her, she doesn't really have all that much story behind her, but she's still pretty relevant today as she followed Garrosh and helped him with the Iron Horde. So before we actually start on her lore, I just want to give you some insight into the history of the Dragonmaw Clan and what happened with them, because her story is actually very closely connected to the history of the Dragonmaw Clan. And if you want to learn more about the Dragonmaw Clan, like in full detail, you can check out World of Warcraft Lore Lesson number 91, which covers the history of Dragonmaw in like full detail and everything. And I will put it on the screen with an annotation. You can also find it in the description below if you want to check that out. So the Dragonmaw Clan is one of those, if you could say, like grey areas or just loopholes in the lore that just haven't yet been fully explained. I mean, they're almost like the Frostwolves because they were given a name that is kind of related to who they were working with, but it hasn't really been said where exactly did that name originate from. I mean, initially Blizzard named the clan Dragonmaw because they control the red dragonflight and use them as mounts, but they also have roots on Draenor, and so far there are no actual like dragons on Draenor, so like Dragonmaw doesn't really make all that much sense, even though that might be changed by Blizzard, you know, once Warlords of Draenor is released and some things can be explained by then. Okay, so during the Second War is really when the Dragonmaw had shown its true potential. I mean, they were led by Zuluhed the Wack, and they worked very closely with the rest of the Horde. They were very loyal to the original Horde. And Zuluhed the Wack is a very important person, as he got a vision of a hidden artifact which was indeed the dragon or the demon soul, later on called the demon soul, and was hidden away thousands of years ago by Malfurion. Although he was unsuccessful in unlocking the true potential of the artifact, so he actually handed it to his second in command, the Nekros Skullcrusher. And the Nekros Skullcrusher used the powers of it and subjugated the red dragon aspect, ALEXSTRASZA, and later on they used to lay her eggs and provide the Horde with very powerful dragon mounts that they later on used against the Alliance and really helped out the orcs a lot. Now this is kind of the first time where the orcs have been in such control, although later on, as described in the Day of the Dragon, ALEXSTRASZA was freed and the Dragonmaw Clan was completely shattered. Now most of the clan followed Zuluhed the Wack back to Draenor, or Outland at that point, and actually pledged their allegiance to ILLIDAN's STORMRAGE, who was the new leader of Outland once he took over Magteridon. And there they started their old practices, you know, try to subjugate the Netherwing dragons instead of the black dragons. They also made a pact with Sinteria, or Lady SINESTRA, which was a consort of DEATHWING and also the mother of Neltharion in Onyxia. And the pact said that the Black Dragonflight will provide its services towards the Dragonmaw in return for the Dragonmaw to provide the Black Dragonflight with Netherwing eggs for their own purposes. And after that, players went and interfered and pretty much everything fell apart and most of the clan was completely wiped out. They were then attacked by the Netherwing dragons, ILLIDAN STORMRAGE, and as it was said by ILLIDAN STORMRAGE in the Netherwing, the clan has met its end. And pretty much in the end the entire clan was completely manipulated by DEATHWING, and he was the one that gave Zuluhed the hints of the Dragon Soul, which pretty much made him control ALEXSTRASZA. He was also the one who contacted Lady SINESTRA and told her to make a pact in order to use the Netherwing eggs to form the Twilight Dragonflight, which he would later use. So even though their name says Dragonmaw, the dragons once they controlled were their kind of biggest enemies and they killed them with every opportunity they got. And this is why when you go to like Dragonmaw towns, the one in Twilight Highlands and a few other of their camps, you can see why they have chopped off dragon heads and spikes and these dragon wings stretch out to work as banners. Because even though, as I said, they're named Dragonmaw, they actually hate dragons, because pretty much dragons brought all the misfortune to their clan. Now, not all of the clan went to Outland, as a smaller part of them stayed back on Azeroth, but they kind of continued to struggle ever since they were broken apart. And at one point, Overlord Morgor which was one of the Dragonmaw Fel orcs that also talked with SINESTRA in Outland, and pretty much he was one of the Dragonmaw Fel orcs that survived that Outland expedition, and it is actually suggested that he was helped out by the Black Dragonflight in that endeavor, because he came back and took over the remaining Dragonmaw, which didn't really make others happy, as they weren't looking to get back into that corruption, and I mean, having a Fel orc in charge definitely wouldn't help things out. Now, at the start of Cataclysm, when Horde arrived together with Garrosh to Twilight Highlands, they actually saw the Dragonmaw Clan, and the Dragonmaw Clan didn't really want anything to do with the Horde. I mean, it's most likely because Morgor had better plans in mind with DEATHWING and didn't want any interferences. And as it was described in the quest, the Horde sent an emissary which was killed on spot by Morgor, and which kinda pissed off Zaela. And Zaela was one of the clan members that was pretty pissed off at Morgor, and she thought that allying with the Horde would be the best way to go, because the clan was doing really bad as it is, and an organized faction with multiple races and more specifically orcs was a kind of a perfect deal for her. So quickly together with the Horde, she organized a rebellion and killed Morgor and took over the Dragonmaw Clan. Now Garrosh saw potential and accepted her into the Horde along with her clan, and she was now leading the clan. Now, this part is actually a bit strange when it comes to her personality, as at this point she was like amazed by the Horde and all of the races that are like working together, but later on during the Siege of Orgrimmar she says how orcs should be the ones to rule, which most likely means that Blizzard decided to do some changes on her personality from Cataclysm. Now, in midst of Pandaria, the Darkspear Rebellion begins, and of course, Garrosh calls Zaela first to handle the situation, because he's thinking she once handled a successful rebellion between her people, so she would definitely be able to dismantle a rebellion as well. And the Siege of Orgrimmar begins, and she and her Dragonmaw orcs are actually on the front lines of defense, and are defending the coastline of Durotar. And Zaela oversees the defense while riding on her drake Gelakras, and this is something new, as Gelakras is actually a proto-drake, and if you didn't know, proto-drakes actually originate from Northrend, and are actually kind of the seed race for other dragons, because the rest of the dragons are just evolved proto-drakes from certain dragonflights. Everything was explained in Dawn of the Aspect, so I would suggest checking that book out. Now, this means that Dragonmaw Clan for the third time turns for help to the dragons and they capture them again. And most likely meaning that they capture them in like a northern expedition or something like that. Now, she fights the invading force pretty well, but she gets shot down and most likely her drake dies. But she doesn't suffer the same fate because of help of a smoke grenade, and she disappears and no one knows where she is. Now, nothing has been heard from her ever since until the events of the War Crimes novel, and I explained this part in a lot more detail in my War Crimes summary, so you can check that out. I will put in the annotation and the description, but here I will just give you a quick explanation what happened. So, she goes to Grimbatol with the remnants of her clan, but then she receives a message from Kairos, and he tells her to gather her forces and lay siege to the Temple of the White Tiger on Pandaria, where Garrosh's trial was supposed to happen. Now, she gathers some allies, some pirates, and also allies herself with the Infinite Dragonflight, and then she attacks the Temple of the White Tiger, which gives Garrosh and Kairos just enough time to escape through the portal and start forming the Iron Horde. Now, at this point, even though the game is still kind of in the beta, she actually resides in the revamped Upper Blackrock Spire, where she together with the Iron March, and Iron March is pretty much an Iron Horde expedition that is supposed to attack Azeroth, I guess, and they are together defending the Dark Portal for Garrosh, as she is still working for Garrosh. As I said, she is still a Garrosh loyalist, and she is killable as an end boss in the instance, but it's not yet known if she actually dies in the lore or if she will escape in some way. And that is all I have for this lore lesson. I hope you have enjoyed, and do give me some feedback on which characters you would like to see covered in the next episodes, and also what you think of this sort of a new format of making new WoW lore lessons, as I plan on doing more of these, but some feedback would be appreciated on that because I'm changing a few things up. Anyways, thanks so much for taking your time to watch this video, and don't forget to like, favorite and subscribe. See you next time.